It was supposed to be a relaxing sleepover with Peggy and me at Nora's house. Her mom and dad were away for the weekend, so she had set up a cozy room for us, filled with pillows, fairy lights, and scented candles. We were eating popcorn, scrolling through TikTok, and laughing at silly memes. Normal Friday night stuff, but around midnight, the lights went out. Nora lit some candles, and everything felt spooky. The glow flickered on the walls, and the room felt very eerie. We were all staring at the flames when Nora said, "Let's do something spooky." "Like what?" Peggy asked. "Summoning spirits. Like we didn't have a Ouija board, and none of us knew how to summon spirits properly." But then, I opened up to the larger group. I asked, "What if we use Snapchat to summon Morbina?" "What?" "What?" "Yes. I saw a post on Reddit where some people used photos of a recently deceased person to summon their spirit. It definitely works. But I don't know how to do that to The room fell silent. Morwena was a senior at our school. She had died in a horrific road accident just a month earlier. She was driving at 90 kilometers per hour and used Snapchat S-Speed filter to make it seem like she was dead. She hit a divider and died instantly. People claimed she was badly injured. And worst of all, her phone kept streaming live for hours. Some people saw the footage before it was deleted. They said her shadow was visible in the window, even after she died. As if she was still watching. "I'm telling the truth. This is not a joke," Buggy muttered. However, Nora had already picked up her phone. We were excited and bored at the same time. It's a bad combination. We sat in a circle. The only source of light was 2 candles, and the light from our phones. We each opened Snapseed and turned our cameras toward the darkest part of the room. Strange shadows formed on the walls. We whispered together. "Morna, show us you're here." We continued like this for a few minutes. Then Peggy suddenly sighed. "Guys, my filter isn't working." We stared at her screen. The dog filter flickered in the empty space next to her. Then it disappeared, then reappeared. But these time years were much longer. The tongue was wagging. A second face appeared on Nora's screen. A thin, yellow line formed behind Peggy. Nora turned around. "There's nothing there," she said quickly. But her voice trembled. I turned my camera to the mirror next to Nora's bed. It was broken at the top, just a hair's breadth away. But I swear I saw something moving behind the long shadow. A loud crack echoed through the room, and the window blew open, sending a powerful gust of wind rushing in. Suddenly, my phone took a picture of itself. No one touched it. It just snapped. As Primeda opened it, we huddled together, trembling. The face appeared in the mirror, staring back at us. But it was so strange. The eyes were too big, and they didn't look human. I dropped my phone. "That's it. Turn it off." "That's it." But before we could do anything, Nora started mumbling. Her voice didn't sound right. Instead, she was swaying back and forth, laughing in a deep, heavy voice that seemed to come from within. Her eyes were rolled back so far that we could only see the whites. Peggy grabbed her shoulders and shook her. Nora, stop." Nora didn't stop. She kept babbling, even louder now. Her lips were moving, but the sounds didn't cohere. It was as if her mouth had closed. Her whole body was shaking. We panicked. I turned off the lights. Peggy picked up her phone and turned on the lights, thinking that if we shone them on Nora, she would snap out of this trance or whatever it was. But she didn't stop. Just like that, Laura fell to the ground. Her body stiffened, strangely. Her bones were broken. Yet, she remained silent and didn't scream. Her face, or rather, her facial expression, smiled at us, even as her body shook violently. Her head landed on the ground with a soft thud. We continued walking. I'll never forget how her body looked, like a puppet cut from its strings. We called her mom and the police. She was immediately taken to the hospital. And to our surprise, she survived. The next day, when Nora woke up, she had no memory of what had happened. Her body felt lifeless and sick. She claimed she felt like someone was watching her, but she ignored it. and the doctor's report revealed no fractures or scratches. We all promised we'd never talk about it again. No one at school would understand. But 3 days later, we got the news. Nora was found dead in her bedroom. Her mother said she seemed to have died screaming. Her face was frozen with fear. There was no evidence of a struggle, no sign of a disturbance. She was just lying there, her body stiff and shivering from the cold. Her phone was found next to her. They said her Snapchat was still open. The camera was turned toward the ceiling. In the last image, a face was clearly visible amidst the voices. That night, we saw the same face behind the page. I wish that was the end. But 2 nights ago, at 3:14 in the morning, I got a Snapchat notification from the page on my phone. There was no message. Just a picture focused in a corner in a dark bedroom, and I felt like something was standing there, watching me. Primera delete d'italiano. I threw my phone across the room, but I kept hearing voices in my sleep. I kept seeing glitches on my screen. Sometimes, I'd see a filter flickering in the air next to me. I don't use Snapchat anymore, but I haven't deleted it either. Because deep down, I feel like this is what she wanted. If we had let Morna sleep peacefully, perhaps all this wouldn't have happened. Should we just bring her back? Or does she want us to stay with her wherever we are? I still remember that night when Annabelle closed the door behind her. The sound was so soft, but with a soft final whisper, she called out, "Don't wait up, Paul," she said, singing sweetly. I shouted back, "If you find him cute, text me, message me." That was the last time I heard her voice. She was hiding a lot about this guy. All she told me was that his name was Chris, a photographer who lived nearby, and that they'd been chatting on Snapchat for weeks. She never showed me his full face, only Snapchats with filters or cropped photos. But she was so happy. It seemed like she was completely in love with him. I thought it was just a period of carefree flirting and she'd eventually get bored. But I wish it were. That night, I was lying in bed watching some videos on YouTube. Rain was pattering on the windows, and Annabelle was on her first date with her mysterious Snapchat man. It was around 11:17 at night. I got a message from him. "He's acting weird." I immediately replied, "What do you mean?" He didn't reply. A minute later, another message arrived. "Call me if I don't respond in 10 minutes. This message stirred something inside me. I stared at my phone. Suddenly, I felt a chill. My fingers were still on the keypad when a third message arrived. I suspected he was hiding something. I called him right away. It rang twice, then went to voicemail. I tried again and again, but he didn't pick up. That's when I started to panic. I thought to myself, maybe his phone is dead. Maybe he's somewhere with no signal. But something didn't feel right. And Abilema says things like that unless she's suspicious. I headed to her room, hoping she might have left a note about where she was going with the guy or written about their appointment on her iPad. Her door was slightly open. The lights were still on. I saw her iPad on the table. The screen was still glowing. Snapchat was open, indicating she'd forgotten to log out. I hesitated for a moment. Then I picked it up. My hands were shaking. I started looking at her chat with Chris. What I saw made my heart tremble. Their conversation was so old. Weeks-old flirting messages, selfies of each other, and jokes between each other. At first, it seemed cute. No harm. She praised his talent. She sent black and white photos of her studio. But the more I scrolled, the more uneasy I became. He always avoided showing his full face. All his photos had filters or shadows, or were taken from a blurry angle, so his entire face was invisible. I scrolled through tonight's messages. Where's something read from me and don't bring anyone. Just the two of us. Whatever you say. I felt like vomiting. I noticed something else. His Snap Map location. He'd used a filter to pretend he was near. But I noticed something strange in the old saved snaps. One said Denver, another said Boda, then Aspen, just minutes apart. He doesn't move from place to place that quickly. He was lying about everything. I found a saved video call from 3 nights ago. I pressed play. Annabelle was laughing, flipping her hair, and asking him about his new shoot. He didn't say much. His voice was low and gravelly, almost a whisper. The camera was pointed at his chest. You could see the outline of a necklace against a dark shirt. He kept deflecting her questions about his life. turning the conversation back to her. But in the corner of the screen, just for a second, I saw it. A flicker. The camera angle shifted slightly, and for a split second, a part of the background came into view. It was a wall. A dirty, stained wall with a single, small, barred window high up. It didn't look like an artist's studio. It looked like a basement. My blood ran cold. I dropped the iPad on her bed. I had to find her. I grabbed my keys and ran out of the house, not even bothering to put on shoes. The rain was coming down harder now, soaking me instantly. I had no idea where I was going. His Snap Map location was a fake. The only clue I had was a photographer who lived nearby. I started driving around the neighborhood, my mind racing. Every dark house, every shadowy alley seemed to hold a terrible secret. I called her phone again and again, the unanswered rings echoing in the car like a death knell. I called the police, but my voice was a frantic, incoherent mess. A missing person. They said they couldn't do anything until she'd been gone for 24 hours. 24 hours. A lifetime. I drove for what felt like hours, my hope dwindling with every passing minute. I ended up back at our house, defeated and drenched. I stumbled back into her room, drawn back to the iPad as if it held the final answer. I picked it up again, my hands now steady with a grim resolve. I went back to the video call. I played it again, pausing and replaying that one single frame. The wall. The window. There was something else. A small detail I'd missed. A reflection in the glass of the window. It was faint, distorted by the rain outside, but I could make out shapes. The glowing sign of a liquor store across the street. O'Malley's. The neon letters flickered. I knew that place. It was on the old industrial side of town, surrounded by abandoned warehouses and derelict buildings. I knew exactly where he was. I didn't think. Just acted. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could find in her room, a metal baseball bat she kept by her door for protection, and ran back to my car. My heart pounded against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the roar of the engine and the storm. I raced through the slick, empty streets, the city lights a blur of color. When I got to O'Malley's, the sign was just as I'd seen it in the reflection. Across the street was a row of dilapidated warehouses. One of them had a single light on in a lower-level window. I parked the car a block away and approached on foot, the baseball bat held tight in my hand. The side door was unlocked. I pushed it open slowly. The air inside was cold and damp, smelling of mold and decay. I could hear a faint sound coming from downstairs. A low, rhythmic sound. Thump, thump, thump. I crept down a set of rickety wooden stairs into a dimly lit basement, and that's when I saw him. His back was to me. He was standing over a large wooden trunk. Annabelle was nowhere in sight. The thumping sound was coming from inside the trunk. He wasn't a photographer. He was something else entirely. As I raised the bat, he slowly turned around, and for the first time, I saw his face. There was no filter, no shadow, just cold, empty eyes, and a smile that wasn't human. He looked at me, then at the bat, and the smile widened. He didn't seem scared. He seemed pleased. He simply said, "You're late." She was getting lonely. The thumping from inside the trunk suddenly stopped, and in the chilling silence that followed, I knew I was next. I never should have looked at her Snapchat. Thank you for listening. And please, be careful who you talk to online. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories. I always loved the idea of unplugging, getting out into nature, surrounded by trees, with no cell service, just peace and quiet. My boyfriend, Jack, and I had been planning this camping trip for weeks. We're both in our mid-20s and a little too attached to our phones, so we figured 2 nights in the woods would be the perfect digital detox. The trail we picked led us about 6 miles deep into the forest. It was a known camping area, but remote enough that we were unlikely to run into anyone else. That's exactly what we wanted. No people, no noise, just us. We got there around noon, set up our tent, and started a fire. For a while, everything felt completely normal, even fun. The weather was perfect, cool enough for hoodies once the sun went down. Even though we came here to escape our screens, I couldn't resist. The scenery was stunning, and fireflies were starting to buzz all around us. I had to capture some of it. I opened up Snapchat and started taking photos to trees. My boots in the leaves. Jack grinning as he held up a tent pole. I probably posted a dozen pictures in just a few hours. I even took a cheesy selfie of me and Jack, doing our best, marshmallow roasting smiles. Some might call it cringe couple stuff, but I was loving every second of it. That night, we roasted hot dogs over the fire and watched the sky turn pitch black. It was a little eerie how quickly the forest went, completely silent. We laughed, drank cheap wine from metal cups, and told stories like we were kids again. I remember feeling so incredibly happy. An hour or so later, we decided to turn in. Jack, exhausted from all the driving and setting up, fell asleep almost instantly. But I've always been a light sleeper, especially in new places. After tossing and turning, I gave up. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through my Snapchat story, just reliving the day. And that's when everything changed. As I looked closer at the photos, I saw him. In the very first picture, someone was standing in the background. He was barely visible at first, just a shape. Primera, zoomed in, way back, between the trees. A man was staring blankly at the camera. A cold sweat started trickling down my forehead. In the second photo, it was closer, peeking from behind a tree, maybe 50 feet away. His face was pale, his eyes wide and empty, his jaw clenched tight. "Jack," I whispered, shaking him. He woke up, groggy. "What is it?" I showed him the photos. At first, he dismissed it, but then his face went pale. "What the hell?" We grabbed our flashlights, scrambled out of the tent, and scanned the woods. Nothing. Just dark trees and the sound of our own heavy breathing. "Maybe it's a glitch, or some hacker messing with us," Jack said, but his voice was shaky, unconvincing. We sat by the dying fire for a while longer, a thick sense of unease hanging over us, trying to rationalize it away. Eventually, we went back inside the tent. I kept my phone clutched in my hand, flashlight right beside it. Neither of us got much sleep. Around 3 in the morning, we heard it. A faint snapping sound, like a twig breaking, just outside the tent. Then another, and another. Someone was walking around our campsite. I held my breath, my heart pounding against my ribs. Jack was wide awake too, his eyes locked on mine in the dark. The footsteps stopped right outside our tent flap. We could hear slow, heavy breathing. Then a low voice whispered, "I saw your pictures. You look even prettier in person." My blood ran cold. It was a man's voice, raspy and low. We didn't move, didn't breathe. It felt like an eternity before the footsteps slowly faded away. We stayed awake until the sun came up, too terrified to even whisper. The second the first light hit the tent, we threw everything into our bags and practically ran the 6 miles back to the car. We didn't look back once. When we finally got back into cell service, my phone blew up with notifications. Dozens of messages on Snapchat, all from an account with no name, no bit. The first one read, "Leaving so soon." The next one was a picture. It was our tent, taken from the woods, in the dead of night. Then another message, "Don't worry, I'll find you again." We went straight to the police. They took our statements, but there wasn't much they could do. The account was untraceable, and we were the only ones who had been out there. They said it was probably just a local hermit trying to scare us. But I know what I saw in those photos. I know what I heard outside that tent. It's been a month. I barely sleep. Every notification on my phone makes me jump. I deleted Snapchat, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes, late at night, I think I hear a twig snap outside my window, and I can't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, he's still scrolling through my pictures, just waiting. I wonder if he's found someone else's story to follow. Another couple enjoying a quiet night, completely unaware that they're not alone, that someone is watching from the trees, getting closer with every photo they post, smiling because he knows that soon they'll meet face. I couldn't resist, and it fell onto my chest. This time, it was a torn fox, its bubbling hide smoking. The animal's blood and flesh clung to my clothes. I even tasted some of its fur in my mouth, making me want to vomit. Jake grabbed a knife and a flashlight. "We're leaving now." I put on a new t-shirt and was about to leave when Jake said, I know you're scared, and so am I, but walking 6 miles in pitch darkness with just a flashlight doesn't seem safe to me. Do you understand? We have to think of something else. You're right. It might be some sick predator or a rogue. Right. We should wait until the sun rises. We decided to wait just a few more hours until morning. Jake said he would keep watch until I fell asleep. I lay in the tent, eyes wide open, staring at the nylon ceiling while Jake sat outside. I must have fallen asleep, because the sound of slow footsteps around the tent woke me. I called out, checked, but there was no response. Footsteps kept coming closer to the tent window. I didn't breathe. I just picked up my phone with trembling fingers. I didn't know what to do. I opened Snapchat. I Hey. Maybe it was habit, maybe it was fear. Outside the latticed window, all I could see was darkness. But then suddenly, a dog filter appeared. It was floating in the empty space, tongue out, ears twitching. Someone was standing there, watching me. I screamed so loud my throat burst. Jake ran into the tent. His eyes were wide open, screaming. What? What happened? I showed him my phone, but the filter was gone. Then we just ran, leaving everything behind. The tent, the supplies, the food, even our shoes. By morning, we reached the road. We got in a car with a truck driver, who didn't ask any questions, probably because we looked half crazy. We never filed a report because we had no evidence. We never revisited the incident. I still scroll through that old Snapchat story every now and then. The pictures are blurry now, but that man is still there.